human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining. Well, I wanted to share what I've been sort of dealing with and becoming more aware of, as I feel like we're kind of shifting into a newer energy. But with that, I'd been feeling like I was talking about in my the last video I did last week, that I felt like the energy of isolation and people feeling like they need someone to talk to, and it became aware. I became aware that many in our group have already had to deal with sort of leaving the pack or the group, and venturing off because we felt like maybe the group was headed in the wrong direction. So for me it was like different religious denominations over the years, or just religion in general and things like that. But for many people, they have never had to deal with the whole challenge of leaving the pack, right? They've just always been in the pack. They've never like questioned the majority, and they're just like they're in there. But now, we're going into this time when people are going to be, many people are going to be faced with catalysts that are going to wake them up regardless of whether they want to be awakened or not. So I'd been seeing this, but I've been noticing that, strangely enough, it doesn't matter all the time, like how good facts are about something. People are locked in. Now, for us that have, shared the Mandela effect with anybody, for, any, at least a handful of people, you've experienced the strange responses you get. But with that, you don't have facts to back it up. So, there's really no way to sort of prove it, right? But I've been noticing the same thing with some of the things that's coming out now, and people react in the same way, even though the facts do support it and they see it clearly. So, and I love how, subtle information comes through for me, because it's not like, I have a morning board meeting with my guides or something like that. It's more like I just sit quietly, and sometimes I'll get a word, or sometimes I won't even notice. Like in this instance, I was actually, thinking about this whole idea I was just sharing with you. And so I thought, I wonder if there's a word, like denial or something, but I wonder if there's a word. So I did an internet search. What did I search here? Let's see. So I did a search, when the mind doesn't want to believe. And I was just, sometimes I'll like put a definition in like that in hopes of finding maybe a word, and then it gives you something to sort of think about, whatever it is, to, I'm sort of a troubleshooter, problem solver sort of person. So sometimes, breaking words apart can be helpful in bringing new perspective to things. So I want to share what I came across when I did that search. So I came across this webpage. It's an author. His name is, let's see, James Clear, and his website is jamesclear.com. And this is / y-facts-don't-change-minds. If you want to check it out, links in the description below as well. But James Clear writes about habits and decision making and continuous improvement. He's the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Atomic Habits. I haven't read it. I just now came across this website, so I really enjoyed this because it really validated and confirmed a lot of things and filled in some gaps for me about why I was seeing things, and why, even since the beginning of the Mandela effect, this really tied in a bunch of what I see that just doesn't make sense sometimes with people, So I wanted to share it with you guys. I figured you'd enjoy it. If I learned something from it, surely you guys might too. So in this, I'll just go over this because I think it's really helpful this time that we're in right now of creating space. And before I go into this, let me share this. While I was actually thinking about this whole idea of leaving the pack or leaving the group, and what it means to hold space, I got this vision of like this picture in my mind of, you and a group of 3 people are exploring some caves, and when you go to exit, you're trying to find your way out, and at one point you feel real strongly, and you're almost certain, or maybe you are completely certain, that you all came from one cave, but everybody else wants to go to the other direction. So do you leave your 3 friends and go the way you're sure is the right way, or do you stay with the group, And I think a lot of people, even if you knew you were absolutely right about that way, you would still stay with the group. So then I got this little picture in my mind of what it means to hold space. So if that person got to that, fork in the cave system, and they felt they were supposed to go left, but there was someone already standing over there saying, yes, this is the way out of the cave, then you wouldn't feel so hesitant about leaving the other 3, you'd feel more assured about your decision. So that's a little picture I got in my mind when I was thinking about holding space, and a lot of what actually comes out in this article I want to share with you guys now. So, quote, faced with a choice between changing one's mind and proving there is no need to do so, almost everyone gets busy with the proof. That's a quote by J.K. Galbraith. Leo Tolstoy was even bolder. He says, the most difficult subjects can be explained to the most slow-witted man if he has not formed any idea of them already. But the simplest thing cannot be made clear to the most intelligent man if he is firmly persuaded that he knows already, without a shadow of a doubt, what is laid before him. What's going on here? Why don't facts change our minds? And why would someone continue to believe a false or inaccurate idea anyway? How do such behaviors serve us? Now, this is when I'm going to go ahead and read this here, and you guys can check it out at the link below, but he gets into, it's just broken down into a few segments here. It won't really take that long, but I know if I tell you guys to go read it, you probably won't because just people are busy, maybe you're driving or whatever. So I will read it for you because it really resonated with me and it won't hurt me. I'll probably pick something up out of it anyway by reading it again for like a 3rd time. So, the logic of false beliefs. Humans need a reasonably accurate view of the world in order to survive. If your model of reality is wildly different from the actual world, then you struggle to take effective actions each day. However, truth and accuracy are not the only things that matter to the human mind. Humans also seem to have a deep desire to belong. In Atomic Habits, James writes, humans are herd animals. We want to fit in, to bond with others, and to earn the respect and approval of our peers. Such inclinations are essential to our survival. For most of our evolutionary history, our ancestors lived in tribes. Becoming separated from the tribe, or worse, being cast out, was a death sentence. Understanding the truth of a situation is important, but so is remaining part of the tribe. While these 2 desires often work well together, they occasionally come into conflict. In many circumstances, social connection is actually more helpful to your daily life than understanding the truth of a particular fact or idea. The Harvard psychologist Steven Pinker put it this way: people are embraced or condemned according to their beliefs. So one function of the mind may be to hold beliefs that bring the belief holder the greatest number of allies, protectors, or disciples, rather than beliefs that are most likely to be true. We don't always believe things because they are correct. Sometimes we believe things because they make us look good to the people we care about. I thought Kevin Simler put it well when he wrote, if a brain anticipates that it will be rewarded for adopting a particular belief, it's perfectly happy to do so, and doesn't much care where the reward comes from, whether it's pragmatic, better outcomes resulting from better decisions, social, better treatment from one's peers, or some mix of the 2. False beliefs can be useful in social in a social sense, even if they are not useful in a factual sense. For lack of a better phrase, we might call this approach factually false, but socially accurate. When we have to choose between the two, people often select friends and family over facts. This insight not only explains why we might hold our tongue in a dinner party or look the other way when our parents say something offensive, but also reveals a better way to change the minds of others. Facts don't change our minds, friendship does. Convincing someone to change their mind is really the process of convincing them to change their tribe. If they abandon their beliefs, they run the risk of losing social ties. You can't expect someone to change their mind if you take away their community, too. You have to give them somewhere to go. Nobody wants their worldview torn apart if loneliness is the outcome. The way to change people's mind is to become friends with them, to integrate them into your tribe, to bring them into your circle. Now they can change their beliefs without the risk of being abandoned socially. The British philosopher Alain de Botton suggests that we simply share meals with those who disagree with us. Sitting down at a table with a group of strangers has the incomparable and odd benefit of making it a little more difficult to hate them with impunity. Prejudice and ethic strife feed off abstraction. However, the proximity required by a meal, something about handling dishes around, unfurling napkins at the same moment, even asking a stranger to pass the salt, disrupts our ability to cling to the belief that the outsiders who wear unusual clothes and speak in distinctive accents deserve to be sent home or assaulted. For all the large-scale political solutions which have been proposed to solve ethnic conflicts, there are few more effective ways to promote tolerance between suspicious neighbors than to force them to eat supper together. Perhaps it is not difference, but distance that breeds tribalism and hostility. As proximity increases, so does understanding. I am reminded of Abraham Lincoln's quote, "I don't like that man. I must get to know him better." Facts don't change our minds. Friendship does. The spectrum of beliefs. Years ago, Ben Kaznocha mentioned an idea to me that I haven't been able to shake. The people who are most likely to change our minds are the ones we agree with on 98% of the topics. If someone you know, like, and trust believes a radical idea, you are more likely to give it merit, weight, or consideration. You already agree with them in most areas of life. Maybe you should change your mind on this one too. But if someone wildly different than you proposes the same radical idea, well, it's easy to dismiss them as a crackpot. One way to visualize this distinction is by mapping beliefs on a spectrum. If you divide the spectrum into 10 units and you find yourself at position 7, then there is little sense in trying to convince someone at position 1. The gap is too wide. When you're at position 7, your time is better spent connecting with people who are at position 6 and 8, gradually pulling them in your direction. The most heated arguments often occur between people on opposite ends of the spectrum, but the most frequent learning occurs from people who are nearby. The closer you are to someone, the more likely it becomes that the one or two beliefs you don't share will bleed over into your own mind and shape your thinking. The further away an idea is from your current position, the more likely you are to reject it outright. When it comes to changing people's minds, it is very difficult to jump from one side to another. You can't jump down the spectrum. You have to slide down it. Any idea that is sufficiently different from your current worldview will feel threatening. And the best place to ponder a threatening idea is in a non-threatening environment. As a result, books are often a better vehicle for transforming beliefs than conversations or debates. In conversation, people have to carefully consider their status and appearance. They want to save face and avoid looking stupid. When confronted with an uncomfortable set of facts, the tendency is often to double down on their current position rather than publicly admit to being wrong. Books resolve this tension. With a book, the conversation takes place inside someone's head and without the risk of being judged by others. It's easier to be open-minded when you aren't feeling defensive. Arguments are like a full frontal attack on a person's identity. Reading a book is like slipping the seed of an idea into a person's brain and letting it grow on their own terms. There's enough wrestling going on in someone's head when they are overcoming a pre-existing belief. They don't need to wrestle with you too. And to add to that, I think it's good to also consider videos that we might share with someone. You don't want to share a video that's attacking their current position, right? It's like, I don't know, I guess it goes without saying, but it's helpful to send a video that focuses on maybe the facts, if that's the route you're going to go with the video, rather than one that is sort of accosting them in their current position or the position that you're trying to help them see beyond, right? Why false ideas persist. There's another reason bad ideas continue to live on. I love this section here, which is that people continue to talk about them. Silence is death for any idea. An idea that is never spoken or written down dies with the person who conceived it. Ideas can only be remembered when they are repeated. They can only be believed when they are repeated. Now we understand why we hear some of the same phrasing over and over again on TV, right? It's like TV planting seeds. Okay, so I have already pointed out that people repeat ideas to signal they are part of the same social group. But here's a crucial point most people miss. People also repeat bad ideas when they complain about them. Before you can criticize an idea, you have to reference that idea. You end up repeating the ideas you're hoping people will forget. But, of course, people can't forget them because you keep talking about them. The more you repeat a bad idea, the more likely people are to believe it. Let's call this phenomenon Clear's law of recurrence. The number of people who believe in an idea is directly proportional to the number of times it has been repeated during the last year, even if the idea is false. Interesting, huh? Each time you attack a bad idea, you are feeding the very monster you are trying to destroy. As one Twitter employee wrote, every time you retweet or quote tweet someone you're angry with, it helps them. It disseminates their BS. Hell for the ideas you deplore is silence. Have the discipline to give it to them. Your time is better spent championing good ideas than tearing down bad ones. Don't waste time explaining why bad ideas are bad. You are simply fanning the flames of ignorance and stupidity. The best thing that can happen to a bad idea is that it is forgotten. The best thing that can happen to a good idea is that it is shared. It makes me think of Tyler Cohen's quote, "Spend as little time as possible talking about how other people are wrong." Feed the good ideas and let bad ideas die of starvation. The intellectual soldier. I know what you might be thinking. James, are you serious right now? I'm just supposed to let these idiots get away with this? Let me be clear. I'm not saying it's never useful to point out an error or criticize a bad idea, but you have to ask yourself, what is the goal? Why do you want to criticize a bad idea in the first place? Presumably, you want to criticize bad ideas because you think the world would be better off if fewer people believed them. In other words, you think the world would improve if people changed their minds on a few important topics. If the goal is to actually change minds, then I don't believe criticizing the other side is the best approach. Most people argue to win, not to learn. As Julia Galef so aptly puts it, people often act like soldiers rather than scouts. Soldiers are on the intellectual attack, looking to defeat the people who differ from them. Victory is the operative emotion. Scouts, meanwhile, are like intellectual explorers, slowly trying to map the terrain with others. Curiosity is the driving force. If you want people to adopt your beliefs, you need to act more like a scout and less like a soldier. At the center of this approach is a question Tiago Forte poses beautifully. Are you willing to not win in order to keep the conversation going? I love this section as well. Be kind first, be right later. The brilliant Japanese writer Haruki Murakami once wrote, always remember that to argue and win is to break down the reality of the person you are arguing against. It is painful to lose your reality, so be kind, even if you are right. When we are in the moment, we can easily forget that the goal is to connect with the other side, collaborate with them, befriend them, and integrate them into our tribe. We are so caught up in winning that we forget about connecting. It's easy to spend your energy labeling people rather than working with them. The word kind originated from the word kin. When you are kind to someone, it means you are treating them like family. This, I think, is a good method for actually changing someone's mind. Develop a friendship, share a meal, gift a book, be kind first, be right later. So you can see why I love that. I wanted to share it with you guys because it really is true, and it's really something that applies. We don't even need to get into any of the issues, right? And in actuality, people from both sides of an issue can listen to the same thing and realize, sitting down and friendship is what's really going to unite and make a big difference as we're moving forward. Because you can't have a conversation if you're not even at the same table, right? So this all makes a lot of sense, and it's just another reason for us to be available and to remove that burden that, as people wake up, a lot of times we have the tendency to want to just hit them with all of this stuff at once. And instead, I would say it would be better to sort of just be there, talk to them about what they talk to you about rather than trying to pour more on, because while, most of us learn things over the years and then we want to just pile everything we've learned and exposed or whatever on people. So it's not really a switch, right? It's not like people are awakened and now, okay, great, now I can just share everything with them. It's a process. It's a process that we need to be patient and let people wake up slowly, just like in the morning, You just don't want to get hit with all this stuff in the morning, right? You get smacked in the face and awakened by something. You don't want a bunch of other stuff thrown at you at once. So I think it's important that we're just patient and loving and compassionate. Remember what it's like to leave the group and realize a lot of the people that are really going to be needing assistance have never been down that road of sort of feeling like the loner, right? They've just always stuck with the group. It's like the safe thing to do, usually. And so, yeah, they're having their paradigm ripped apart, and we're just we're holding space, right? So that they have people to talk to. So the rest of it is kind of left up to the higher ups, people to be sent to us as we need, just the people in our circle of people we know or whatever. And for the most part, we're all on our individual journey. So this may or may not apply to you, but I definitely wanted to share this because this is something that can really apply to so many different things. And it's really liberating, and it's easy to do. It's much easier to love someone than it is to convince them of something. So I'm going to add this to the Navigating the Shift playlist because I think this is a lot of great information that will be good for a long time as we move forward with these new energies coming in. So lots of love, light, and unity. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.